Okay, so for today we will be sketching the third and final convergent plate boundary, the convergence of your continental and continental plates. So there are a couple of things I want to highlight while we are talking about this particular section here. Okay, so bear in mind that this set of diagrams is a set of 3 diagrams. They are a lot simpler. How you want to arrange them in terms of the box that you draw is up to you. I've seen students that adopt the recommended arrangement where you have diagram 1, diagram 2, and subsequently diagram 3 in a stack, and you draw a longer box here to indicate this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. I've also seen your seniors, some of them prefer to do a box that looks like this, where you have diagram 1, diagram 2, and diagram 3 on its own, because they say that diagram 3 is a bit more detailed. There are more things that they want to put in, so they put it in this format and orientation. Now, whichever one you eventually choose to adopt is up to you. I'm not particular about it, but I'm going to run through with you how it looks like in your notes and the handout itself. So bear in mind, before we start, first thing we do is always write in your title. What are we going to do today? We're going to sketch continental plate convergence. Okay, so make sure you have got that down, underline it, and first box, first process. Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to look at continental, right? So this piece, there's not going to be any subduction. You're going to have 2 continental plates. You're going to show that they are coming together. There is convectional currents in the mantle pushing it together. Okay, in this particular case here, I'm going to show you something that is a bit different from what we normally have. We normally just label the items here. In this case here, I'm going to tell you the plate. I'm going to include the plate name in my diagram here. So this one is a continental plate. But more importantly, I'm going to label this. This is the Indian plate. Okay, the other one that we're going to label is the Eurasian plate, the other continental plate. This would be our Eurasian plate. What do you have here? You have the sea that will eventually be pushed away, and you will lose the sea. At the bottom of it is the sediments that form part of your landform eventually. Okay, sedimint. So this is your first diagram. After continued compression, you're going to have a second diagram. It will evolve into diagram 2. So diagram 2 here will show something very similar still, right? You will still have one plate still being compressed against the other plate, but now the compression has come to a point where they're getting closer and your sediment is starting to fall. Okay, so the sea has not completely receded yet, but sediments have started to fall. So once again, you have your plates coming together with compressional strength. Okay, as they are the same thing, I will not need to label my continental plates again. They are continuation, so I will not need to label that. Okay, so second one is rather simple. The third one is where you have a bit more details, because the third one is where the landform is actually formed already. Over here, I will have diagram number 3. Once again, this portion here is the same. You do not have too much of the variance in terms of the 2 continental plates, because number 1, they do not subduct. Okay, there is no subduction. So what happens is now you have a mountain that is formed. Now, what is the components of this mountain? Partially the original continental plate, and the other part that forms this is of course the sediments that were originally in the middle. Okay, so this is your four mountains. I'm going to indicate the example here. Okay, the Himalayan mountains, these are my four mountains. Okay, so with this is our diagram that you will need to produce if you have explain with a labeled diagram question. Okay, so now what are my annotations then? So in the first diagram here, my annotation will need to cover a couple of things. Okay, so you need to mention this, that they are converging and they're compressing against one another. Okay. Right, the other thing I need to talk about that I've drawn in is of course the sediments and the sea, so I need to give you an annotation about what happens then. Right, secondly, with continued compression, what has happened to the sediments and the sea? So for the second diagram, I need to continue with the idea that is that compression continues. Now you may be thinking, well, what is this concept of sea displacement that we have written twice already? Okay, put it this way, the sea is trapped in between the two pieces of land and your two pieces of land are compressing together. The sea is a mobile and fluid entity. It's made of water largely, so what will happen to it? It will flow away. So displacement simply means that the sea water flows away. Where does it flow to? It flows to different locations. Sometimes parts of it are trapped and they become a enclosed inland sea. Okay, other parts of this may not be trapped like this. They may get pushed and slowly the water will just overflow over the land that is rising up and back into the sea at the other ends where it's connected to the sea itself. So things like your enclosed beaches, not enclosed beaches, enclosed saltwater lakes. Okay, you look at the Red Sea in the Mediterranean. That's a typical example of a sea that is in the process of being displaced because of convergence. Okay, finally, the last one is where you finish up and you talk about the four mountains itself. So this is what you end up with. Okay, the final component and final annotation would be describing what happens over a long period of time with continued compression. What will happen to the plates? The continental plates will buckle, they will fold upwards, and they will form very dramatic fold mountain ranges. Okay, example given here is the Himalayan mountain range. Please note you have to give the example, otherwise it will not be taken to be a complete answer. If you're wondering why I have a double entry of the example, I have the entry in the diagram itself and I have the entry in the annotations. This is actually right. It's not necessary. You can have it in either one location. So if you're like me, you're better at memorizing the visual diagrams. I will always try to put all the labelings in the diagram itself. So if I do forget in my haste, or in my lack of time, in my explanation itself, if I do forget the naming of the case examples, I know I'm covered because I've actually put it into the question or into the diagram itself. So with that, we've come to the end of this particular sketching exercise. Okay, please stay tuned with me as we go through a little bit more about the details of continental plate convergence in the next video.